Minia. Long live Ghana, man. Long live the baby, man.
One time. So come go to Jenny Mumpire. So come we are fire. I'm ready, ever to you. Ghana, ready, ever to you. Let me free Ghana. Me man penny, I would cano your friend on the plank noma. Me a mini sign up when my dear number your mama. I send back up baby na me say ya. I am in one. Here on no neje fan who ye. Yanara assassin ye. I have what they did my ye. Mojana nana no here gunya de to how my ye. A room in never go say ye baby at once. So ye. Can I be a baby? I'm in a say Ray Obiana and any Jana and the young Physican Tons of Fangu from Nemo Fragina, come Nayan to Jomon Campo, Yamusa, Yakina, Nano, there be so we did. Video some you need the Ghana City, Obia baby, and not to any greedy. I bet Janka Bitty, baby, and I will go to Korea, Bianco, Bini, Libya, when I was so young. Rene, my back, and the Piazza and Kutia can answer what call Parliament, Akonaco, and I was saying, to me come to my power, and for Jankan Koya Bawana, and Massa Bibia, woman, Pango Shabu, some tower, and yes, I'm not putting power, when I want to try a bank tower. Really, me and Sasa, and your band, your Casaba, me, they are not in Paulia, Muntia, Yana, mine, in Panadia, me, I'm in Udia, Nana, me, I'm in Udia, one so, no, Bianabio, time, me, I'm in Udia, Nana, me, I'm in Udia, one so,
listen, Ghana fetish will receive from Fetita Maletu, Wabwasa to Gamami, see show beyond the freedom, will be Benny Menafa, any cheater. Say you will be young Magana, you dear buying chair, bet take it too long. Say me check with the streets, any school, any fees, and so politician, yeah, can see a good food in the cheeks. Now my game, yeah, I'm a best I made the vein fair with thieves, but now I'd rather come in peace. The Yanis again, but yeah, fam, you won't pen because so yeah, when Yana Sam, my winning just a wolfie Ghana, man, me can't say you so far, madam. And so what your nasa says I was skin color, now we'll be Yanes or Benso, dear, what was him? A simple team, my simple citizens. Don't want to say, well, who can work with all these silly things? Charity begins at home and on the one from citizens. Yeah, you won't take it, set it to James.
Before near grocery, any bio, Yama politics, and tell me any atio, there's a bomb to push your hair, any bio. Yenye Bribi, my Injirima, Machiramo Dada, Kojo Kancheme on Hineba, Yamiri Emojeni, and yes, Kwame Kruma, yes, I had your time.
Welcome to a special edition of Diaspora Weekly. My name is Jermaine Nkrumah, and today I'm reaching right across the Atlantic, way down to South America to speak with my friend, Nancy Boldewijn. Nancy, welcome.
Thank you, Jermaine.
Nancy is a policy officer at the Ministry of Natural Resources in the country of Suriname.
Yes.
You know, I have to admit something.
Mm-hmm.
All this while, when I heard Suriname, my mind always goes to our brothers and sisters in the Netherlands. Have you heard that before?
Well, Suriname has been a colony of the Netherlands for quite some time, so it's not a surprise that it's linked to the Netherlands.
Oh, very good, very good. Well, welcome, Nancy. And first of all, thank you for making time to speak with me. Let's start to talk about you, Nancy, because as I mentioned, you're the first person I know from Suriname. So impress me so that I'll carry that impression to all the Surinamese that I'm going to meet from this point on.
Well, I'm 38 years of age. No kids, not married. As you stated before, I'm a policy officer at the Ministry of Natural Resources. I am a Christian, and I'm in the board of directors of one of the churches, but also of the region North, because I live in the north of Paramaribo. So I'm also in that board. I'm a member of JCI, in this case JCI Suriname, and the chapter is JCI SIMA, of which SIMA stands for Skillful Young Managers. I am a member of Toastmasters Suriname, and Toastmasters is also an international organization um, which focuses on leadership and public speaking. I also do a lot of social work, and I'm doing a study in in social work. I have to finish that study, and when I finish, I will have my bachelor's in social studies.
So you're working and you're in the university at the same time, right?
Yes, yes. Mhm.
Okay. Good. Continue. Sorry for the interruption.
Um, I like sports, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic in Suriname, we cannot really do sports, of course, because everybody has to stay home. Or if you go outside of your home, it's only to do the necessary things like getting groceries and stuff. Um, let's see.
So sports. What sports do you participate in?
I like Thai boxing, but let me explain that it's not Thai boxing to go into the ring. It's just for the condition, just for to have a good condition, just to stay
Okay.
healthy. Yes, not to go
Okay.
in the ring because I don't like all of that pain. So it's just the exercises that you do to stay in great condition.
Okay.
The exercises they usually do to stay in condition. But
Okay.
no, not in
You,
going
you-
into the ring. It's not an option.
no problem. You also mentioned the pandemic. How's the pandemic situation in Suriname at this time?
Actually, at this point, it's getting worse. We're now in code purple. So we're past code red. And now Suriname is in total lockdown for 2 weeks. Stated it began yesterday.
Mhm.
And the total lockdown is until June the 18th. So
Okay.
people, for now, we're only allowed on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays to go grocery shopping. Like that's it.
Okay.
8 in the morning and 4 p.m. After that, we have to stay inside. Nothing else is allowed. Grocery shopping and the banks or so the financial institutes like the banks are allowed to be open on those days. Also because it's end of the month slash beginning of the month and people need their money. Um, Bills need to be paid. So some of the institutions are allowed to open on the days I named and
Mhm.
between the times I called, because at this point there are almost 10 people, approximately 8 to 9 people dying per day now,
Oh
and
wow.
it's a lot for Suriname. Yes, and it's a lot for Suriname because our population is between
Mhm.
500,000 and 600,000.
Right. Okay.
So until now, if the pandemic started in Suriname, the first person to have COVID in Suriname was last year March. So
Okay.
between March last year and today, we have
Mhm.
all we're all on alert at the moment.
How many lives lost until now?
Yes,
Okay, I think. Hello,
almost
you
20.
almost what? Oh boy, we've had our first hitch. I think you're frozen.
Almost 220.
Almost 200 people that died of COVID.
Yes.
Okay. I think
More than 10 to 20 almost.
Okay. All right. Now, tell us about Suriname. Um, a lot of people don't know much about Suriname. So let us know, tell us what it's not common out there. About Suriname, yes. Go ahead.
Well, Suriname, if you look at ecology, Suriname is between Brazil, Guyana, and French Guyana, and the Atlantic Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the history, so geographically, it's part of South America.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it historically, it's part of the Caribbean.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
And you're
Suriname
sandwiched between Guyana and French Guyana
and Brazil.
and Brazil to your
Yes.
south, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So Suriname has been a colony of the Netherlands, of England, and Spain. So we have influences of all these three countries, and during the colonization of the Netherlands and England, we were there was also slavery. So we have descendants here from Africa, from India, from Indonesia, and from China. So it's all mixed up here in each other.
Yes.
There are
I
also a lot
noticed.
of Brazilians. And as I mentioned in our previous conversation this morning, we also have a lot of Brazilians. But the Brazilians are more in the interior because we have a lot of gold in Suriname. So the Brazilians are more in the mining sector.
So you have a lot of gold in Suriname, right?
Yes.
Oh,
And
okay.
oil.
And oil.
Yes.
Oh, you have gold and oil. Then you should be.
Yes. So
That's
we
a
have a
rich
state
country.
oil. Yeah.
If you
Well,
have
that should
gold,
be the case.
if you have gold and you have oil, and it's only 500,000 of you, you should be rich.
Yeah, we should be like Dubai. We should be like Dubai actually, but unfortunately, that's not the case.
Okay, why do you think that is the case? Why do you think Suriname is struggling?
Politics.
Politics.
Yes.
What's wrong with
The
politics?
money is not invested in the right way. Only a small group of people actually um, profit from what Suriname has to offer. Like years ago, we were one of the biggest countries to produce bauxite,
Okay.
and the government had made the deal. There was an external organization company here doing the bauxite, and with the deal that Suriname did not gain enough money. If you look at the fact that the bauxite was taken out of our country, so
Okay.
now that organization is gone. The deal is the contract has expired, so they
Mhm.
left Suriname. We gold is still going on, but there is so much gold leaving Suriname, legal and illegal, and the government does not have any idea how much gold is leaving Suriname illegal. So we're losing there.
Why?
We
You
all
don't have any, you don't have security system like soldiers,
it's
police?
it's 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 not good enough. It's not
Okay.
good enough. And also, if we look at the deal, I don't think that Suriname is gaining enough money out of the gold industry. We
Okay.
also have the wood industry, and there's also a lot of wood leaving Suriname because our forests, um, our land exists for 90% of forest.
Right. I see
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
So
So
is it safe to say, is it fair to say that, and I noticed that Paramaribo is located at the very northern coast of,
yes.
and so whatever, with 90% forest, is it possible that the government in Paramaribo doesn't have any idea how much mining is going on in the forest?
Well, they do, but like I said, politics, because a lot of the government officials are
Mhm.
also owners of gold concessions, of wood concessions, of so a lot of politics are playing because if there are rules, and I'm into politics, they would not look at me very strict. If I'm one of the owners of the gold concessions and I'm also into politics, if I do something wrong or if I do something illegal or if I don't pay enough taxes, who's gonna fight me for it? No one's gonna
Yeah.
fight me for it because I'm also into politics with my colleague politicians.
Yeah.
So the politics have um, yeah, the politics breaks Suriname, just to
What
speak.
form of government do you have? Is it parliamentary system or the presidential
Yes,
system? Parliamentary.
parliamentary system.
So you have
Yes,
a parliament, right?
yes, yes. So
Okay.
there are 51 members. Our parliament has 51 members.
Okay.
So we also have a state-owned company. They are working very hard. It's going very good with the company, and actually Suriname has found more oil. I think, but at the beginning of this year and last year, I think two places where they can gain oil, but to actually start, we can actually start earning money with the oil in about um, 5 to 6 years.
Oh, okay. Because the plan
Yes.
of
So
production is it soil on land or is it offshore?
both, both,
Both.
but
Okay.
most offshore. Yeah,
Most
but
offshore.
most offshore.
Tell me about the
Yes.
diversity in Suriname. I heard you're one of the most
Um.
diverse
Yes.
countries in the
Yes.
world.
So like I said, the influences are from the Dutch, the English, the Spanish, Africans, Indians, Indonesian, Brazilian, Cubans, name it. And when people come to Suriname, there is this one thing they usually say if they want to show you how well, more or less peaceful we live with each other. In Paramaribo, we have a mosque next to a synagogue. So you'll be thinking like, okay, where in the world can you place two different types of
Side by
um,
side.
yes, that's a
Wow.
very beautiful picture, very nice to see. Because if you
Do you
would
have a
look at other
picture?
no, but I can search for you.
That'll be
I
good.
can
That'll be good. All right.
um so that's in a way peaceful, because if you look at certain countries where the religions don't go together, different religions, then
Yeah.
one of them would have been burned down already, or
Right.
both.
Right.
But we don't do that here. I need to say it's not always as peaceful as we say, because there will always be um, how do you call it, racism. There will
Mm-hmm.
always be racism, but in Suriname, it's not to the extent where people will murder each other or harm
Right.
each other just
Right.
because you're from
So
another race.
recently there were fights between Israel and the Palestinians.
Mhm.
Did they still in Suriname go to the synagogue and the mosque next to each other, and that didn't make any difference? It didn't influence the way they.
No, no, no. It doesn't have any influence in Suriname at all. Not at
Okay.
all.
What about the
No.
different races? I know blacks make 37% of Suriname,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Is there any
Yes.
other race that has that much?
No, not really. The
So the
for
blacks
the
are the
biggest,
majority then.
yes.
Okay.
And next to the blacks, then you have the Indian, the Indonesian, and
Uh-huh.
the so they make most of the population.
Okay. Tell me about the
And in
blacks.
the
I know there are
blacks,
two
like I
groups.
explained to you in our conversation earlier, then you
Mm.
have different types. Yes. So the descendants, due to the slavery,
Mhm.
you have there were African type of difference, and during the slavery, you had house slaves and slaves that would
The
work
field
in the
slaves.
field. The house slaves were treated a little But the house, I would have to say a little bit better because they were not free. They were slaves, and
Yeah.
to a certain extent, they did not have to work as hard in the field as the field slaves did. So they
So
could
those are the
just
Creoles.
do stuff around the house. And yes, and the ones that escaped mostly from the how do you say plantations in English?
The field.
Um, I cannot.
Those were the ones on the
Yeah,
field
those who
working
were
the
working on
land.
the field that escaped
Okay.
escaped into the interior. So they are called the Maroons.
The Maroons.
And Maroons, yes, and Maroon literally means runaway slave.
Okay. Wow. All
Um,
right.
and yes, and the Maroons also are divided because you have different villages, and then you have the Aucaners, you have the Saramacaners, you have the Paramacaners, the Matuariers. So they have their own dialect. So
Is
their
there,
language also differs.
okay. When you see a Creole, can you tell the difference between a Creole and a Maroon?
Mhm. Mostly yes. Mostly
Is it
yes.
is it by appearance or by their mannerisms or the way they speak?
Both, but mostly the appearance.
Appearance. What's
Yes.
the physical difference between the Maroon and a Creole?
How should I explain it? I know it's kind of hard to explain actually. You would have to live here to
Mhm.
actually know that to see the difference because it's hard to explain. Because
Is there any
if you
difference in skin complexion?
not really because you have darker and less darker Creoles and darker and less darker Maroons. So the skin color is not really one to measure if you're Creole
Which one
or
are you?
Maroon. Creole,
You're Creole.
yes.
Okay. Do the Creoles and the Maroons get along with each other?
Uh, Not well enough.
Okay. Why so?
um, the well, in general, blacks are um, blacks are generally less appreciated in communities. Let's state that first.
Okay.
But second, the Maroons have, yeah, how should I explain it? If you look at the civilization, the
Hmm.
Creoles are generally more civilized than the Maroons. But the Maroons, they have taken something from the period of the slavery. Um, they feel as if the Creole are
Traders?
are um,
I
excuse
mean,
me.
do they feel you're traitors?
I did not understand what you asked.
I said, you were saying that the Maroons think the Creoles are, and I'm saying, do they feel like you betrayed them because you were in the house and they were in the field?
That could be the historical part, yes. But they don't. Yeah, I think it started like that. I think it started off like that, and it's historical. But they kept the feeling as if the Creole think they are better than the Maroons,
Oh, okay.
and in some cases, that is the case that
Okay.
the Creole do think that they are better than the Maroon. But that has a lot to do with civilization, with schooling. But nowadays,
Mhm.
there are a lot of educated Maroons. So that's not. It's well, let's say, but also the culture of cases for the parties to mingle. If we look at um, um, how do you call it, projects,
Mhm.
development projects for the interior,
Mhm.
um, the Maroons don't want to don't always want to mix, or they want to have the development, but everything should always go as they want. But that's not always possible. You sometimes have to adjust to what the donor wants to give you, and or um, you have to look for a midway. They are
Okay.
not always are not always they don't always want. So Suriname has started some companies, especially the extractive industries.
Mm-hmm.
What they are doing now, I don't know if you're familiar with the term FPIC, free prior informed consent,
Mm-hmm.
is that when the government now has to take into consideration when they give out um, oil permits, gold permits, wood permits. They have to consent the people of the interior because the people living in the interiors are the Maroons and the Amerindians,
Okay.
and the first concessions were not given out in consent with the people living in the interior. But that meant that their village and their how do you call it,
Okay.
their environment their
Mhm.
environment um, they get into problems with their environment. Because if I have a village, let's say here, and the government gives a um, gold permit next to my village, it
Mhm.
means I have to go further from my village to get food,
Okay.
and you're actually damaging my environment.
Okay.
So now the extractive industries, they have to consent with
Okay.
the people of the interior first. They
Okay.
need to have it all on paper that they
Okay.
have permission to do their work, and if they have the permission, then they can ask the government for a permit.
How impactful is the mining industry on the environment? Because I know in Ghana we're having some huge problems, but do the miners in Suriname, do they take care of the land or they just destroy the land and go?
Well, they do have a contract with the government because we have a local mining organization and an international organization, mining organization.
Mhm.
So they both had to sign that they have to take care of the environment,
Mhm.
and that they have to put the locals also to work.
Okay.
They have to give them some space. They have to take care of them. Their corporate social responsibility should be quite well. And what the International Mining Organization does, that is I Am Gold. What I
Mhm.
Am Gold does is that every year they give scholarships to the people of the interior so that they can study further in Paramaribo, because the interior doesn't have a university.
Oh, there's no
um,
university in the interior?
no, there's only one, and it's in Paramaribo.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
Yes. So
So, which means there's a wide education gap between the Maroons and the
yes,
Creoles.
yes,
Is it
and
closing or is it widening?
it's closing. It's closing, um, because there are more schools now in the interior, more than, let's say, 50, 60 years ago. There
Yeah.
are more schools, but then it's up till primary school. All districts have primary schools. For secondary schools, most of the districts have secondary schools. Well, yeah, I think all of the no, one district doesn't have secondary school, and I think that is Sipaliwini, and that's the furthest out in the interior.
Okay.
Um, and after that, you have high school and then the university. High school we have in, I think, 3 or 4 districts. Suriname has 10 districts, so not even all of the districts have high
Okay.
schools, and
So
there's
to
only
your
one
south.
university.
Mhm. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish,
Yeah,
please.
so there's only one university, and
University
it's in
in
Paramaribo.
Paramaribo. To your south is Brazil. To
Yes.
your west is Guyana, and to your east is French Guyana. How is the immigration situation? Is it more migration out of Suriname or migration into Suriname from those three countries?
More into Suriname.
More into Suriname?
Yes. The Guyanese have been coming to Suriname for quite a while. For now, I think 100 years or so.
Okay.
So there is a lot of there are a lot of Guyanese in Suriname. But if we look at the goat industry, the last, I would have to say 40, 50 years, a lot of Brazilians.
A lot of Brazilians are also coming to Suriname.
Yes, but they mostly
are the borders very well controlled?
Not enough, not well enough. I think the best controlled one is probably French Guyana.
French Guyana, that's the one that's most controlled. Okay.
Yes.
What about food? Talk to me about Guyana food, because I heard you guys have peanut butter soup. Peanut soup.
Peanut soup. Yes.
Peanut soup.
Yes. And it's quite delicious, actually.
You know what? I think the peanut soup in Ghana is better than the one in Suriname, by far.
It could be. I don't know. I think we'll just have to make it and taste it to see.
You know, Ghana and Nigeria has a huge jollof wall between the two countries. Maybe we can start a peanut soup between Ghana and Suriname to see who makes the best peanut soup.
Well, that's a great idea.
Okay, so the fight is on. What else is there in terms of food? What is your diet entail mostly?
Well, it depends on what you like, because for the Creole we have mostly pomme and pastille, and pomme is a root from pomme is made from tire. It's a plantain. It's actually a plantain, and it's cooked and put into the oven with chicken. And pastille is made with mixed vegetables, chicken. How do you call it? I can't find the name, but pomme and pastille are typical for Creoles.
Okay.
For the Maroons, they have mostly a fingi soup, and a fingi is made of cassava. That's also a plantain.
Wait, what is the name?
Afingi.
Afingi, okay. Okay.
Yeah. For the Amerindians, it's kasiri, and kasiri is a drink, some kind of drink, and it's also made of cassava and alcohol. So if you're not used to drinking kasiri, you will get drunk.
Oh, really? What's it made out of?
I have no idea. It does have alcohol.
It does have alcohol. Okay.
And the Amerindians also have a soup called piprewatara, and the piprewatara is a soup with fish.
Okay.
Then we have, for the Indians, we have roti and bara. I don't know if you know that. For the Indonesians, we have fried rice, fried noodles, soto soup. For the Chinese, we have, well, of course, the fried rice and the fried noodles, but made in a different way than how the Indonesian make it.
Okay. What about pastimes? Your pastime, national pastime and sports. What are you into?
Suriname is into soccer.
Soccer.
Yeah, soccer.
How come we never see you in the World Cup?
Well, it's because the how should I explain it?
Actually, you're in a region with very big soccer giants. You have to go against Brazil. You have to go against Colombia. You have to go against Argentina.
Yes.
So you will never make it to the World Cup.
No, because Suriname does not have professional soccer players.
Okay.
Um, there are no investors in Suriname to actually have the soccer players play professionally. So
Okay.
all the soccer players have their daily jobs, and
Oh, really?
yes, and soccer is just on the side. And if you're not playing professionally, you will never go to the level to play for the World Championship. So
So,
what is happening now is that a lot of um, soccer players from
mhm.
Suriname descent, which play for national teams of the Netherlands, are hired now to play on an international level for Suriname.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, so
That's
now it's our
getting
now our
better.
national yes. So our
What about
national
what
team.
other sports? What other sports are you into?
And in second place is swimming.
Swimming.
Yes,
Okay.
and I would have to say in third place is Thai box.
Cyber.
Um, yes, so one of our greatest Thai boxers is I don't know if you heard of him, Jairzinho Rosenstruik. So he's fighting internationally, and he has won a few fights, KO
Okay.
also. So
Okay.
he's one of the big ones in the Thai box world, so to speak. And there
Good.
are
What
also
about
others.
pastimes? What about pastimes and entertainment and stuff?
Um, yeah, entertainment. Surinamese people love dancing. They really love dancing. You cannot have a party and there's no music. Otherwise, it's no party. No, no. So we like to celebrate whatever there is to celebrate. We will celebrate.
Oh, really?
And the
What's your
music is
dancing
all
like? Is your dancing African or Western?
both. It depends. So the Creole like more African style, but there is also music developed out of all the descendants, so to speak. So through the years, it has developed in a certain way because you will find in the, let's say, the Creole.
Mhm.
For us, it's Kawina, and Kawina is has influence from the music of the Maroons, and the music of the Maroons is more African.
Okay.
So the Kawina music has influence from let's say Maroon music slash African music.
Okay.
Um, and I think the Indian music speaks for itself, the Indonesian music speaks for itself, the Chinese music, but there are also a lot of Dutch influence or European influences and American influences on our local artists. But our local artists are also doing great. They have competed internationally. Some of them have been invited out of Suriname to perform. So yeah, we're doing great with
So
music.
what's the name? The Jamaicans have reggae. What do
Yes.
Surinamese have?
Well, it's not well. Like I was explaining, it's not really one. That's the problem. We don't have just one thing because
Okay.
there are also a lot of reggae lovers here.
Hmm.
So lovers of the reggae music. We have had artists from the Caribbean here in Suriname for shows. Have had artists from India. We have had artists from Indonesia.
Okay.
So for every group, there is something. There's not just
Okay.
one national type of music.
Okay. Which African country do Surinamese identify with the most?
Um, that's actually difficult to answer because I would have to go into my historic books
Okay.
to know. I have not. No, I can't remember which part of Africa most of the slaves or most of the people were taken from to become slaves in Suriname. That's
Okay.
like way back in history. I did not. No, I don't know that place by heart.
Okay. But you guys identify, the blacks identify with Africa?
Yes.
Is it very a deep connection or is just a loose one?
I have to say a loose one. Um, I due to our history, we know that our ancestors are from Africa, but
Hmm.
there's no um, real connection that Surinamese people have the urge to say, "I need to know where from Africa I am,
Okay.
what my ancestors were doing back then, how it started." No, that we don't actually have the urge for that. No.
Okay. But so is there a lot of anger when you look at the slave trade, right,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
transpired? How do the Black Surinamese feel about it for the most part?
Um, the anger is not so much about the slavery, but
Mhm.
more towards the Netherlands. At least for some of the Surinamese people, I would have to say maybe 50%, because their anger goes out to the Netherlands in the sense that they say that the Netherlands have actually taken a lot of Suriname, and they have left us not well underdeveloped, so to speak. Because if you look at the state of development the Netherlands is in, and you look at the state of development Suriname is in, there's a big gap.
Mhm.
So for most Surinamese people, it's like you have had us as a colony for years, for decades, and you actually left us in a state where we're still underdeveloped. What they did do is when Suriname um, got their how do you call it?
Independence?
Yes, their independence.
Mhm.
They did give Suriname a certain amount of money. I forgot the amount, but it was they will help decide what the money should be spent on.
Hmm.
So you still want to we have our independence. You give us money to develop ourselves, but you're the one making the calls. So you
Is
did
this
not
still
actually
the
help
case?
us.
Is this still the case that Netherlands
Mm,
decides?
um. Well, let's say the government that we have now
Mhm.
gives Netherlands power in a certain way. For example, um, the COVID-19 has been in Suriname for a year now,
Mhm.
and since January this year,
Mhm.
no Surinamese were allowed to go to the Netherlands because the Netherlands was afraid that Suriname will bring their pandemic to their blah blah blah. Although in the Netherlands they also have are dealing with the pandemic.
Mhm.
No Surinamese were allowed in the Netherlands,
Mhm.
but people from the Netherlands are allowed to come to Suriname. People
Hmm.
from Suriname were not even able to go to the Netherlands for funerals. Even if their mother had died, their child had died, their father had died, it didn't matter who. They were not getting their visa to go to the Netherlands to bury their family members,
But
but
then,
2 to 3 times a week, an airplane from the Netherlands is coming to Suriname. Now it's put to once a week. I think 2 weeks ago they um, they were trying to fix that, but I was like, how can you allow that? Like,
okay, so then let me ask you this. I know how airlines work, and I,
yes,
I assume it's KLM that's bringing the Dutch in, right?
well, KLM and SLM,
Eh, oh, SLM. So you have an airline, right?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
good. But these airlines, when they bring the Dutch into Suriname, they don't
Mhm.
fly back empty. Who is on that plane when the aircraft is going back?
So only people with a Dutch passport, with a European passport.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So the excuse is only how do they call it? Um, in the beginning, it was because last year when COVID started in Suriname, the airports were closed for a few weeks, and
Mhm.
after that, the people with a European passport were allowed to go back to Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and the Surinamese people who were in Europe were allowed to come to Suriname if they had a Europe passport or not, because people had to go to work. You're living in Suriname, so you have to get back. So in the
Yeah.
beginning, it was that every person from Suriname who was still in Europe was allowed to come back, and the people who are still in Suriname were allowed to go to the Europe. That was in the beginning the case.
Okay.
That's logic. We
Okay.
can go with that.
So before the pandemic, was it easy to go to the Netherlands from Suriname?
Well, since the independence, just people from Suriname have to ask for a visa. So it's a whole process. You have to pay for a visa application. You have to fill in the application. You have to get someone for the Netherlands to be your how do they call it?
A relative
Uh,
to.
well, you can't just go and say, oh, if you answer in your application, I'm staying at a hotel, you need to have documents of the hotel, and that you're actually paying, bank statements that you have the money to pay for a hotel and a lot of things. Otherwise, if I say I would stay at my sister,
Mhm.
I will need a my sister's bank information, my
Okay. Yeah,
sister's
that's pretty normal with
yeah,
most.
so the whole
Yeah.
process, yes.
Right.
But
Uh,
if it's not the same for people from Europe, they don't need a visa to come to Suriname.
yeah. Oh, really? They don't need
No,
visa to come to.
no, no. They only need their passport and a ticket, and it's done.
Wow. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, so is it safe to say the largest Surinamese community outside of Suriname is in the Netherlands?
yes,
Okay.
yes, indeed. I
Okay.
think before Suriname got their independence,
Mhm.
tens of thousands of Surinamese people actually went to live in the Netherlands, because they had the opportunity to go to the Netherlands, and most of the people who did that were afraid that Suriname would actually go down the drain being
Okay.
independent. So tens of thousands of people of Suriname went to the Netherlands before the independence. So yes,
So
most of
which group dominates the political leadership in Suriname?
um well, actually two, the Creole and the Indians.
Oh, the Creoles and the Indians.
Yes.
The Maroons are not politically inclined.
Yes. Well, I have to. They're not really. Mm, they have two political parties. Yes, and one of them is actually now in the government. So like having a parliament means there are seats in the parliament, and they have 8 of the 51 seats.
Wait, which group has 8 of the 51 seats?
The Maroons.
The Maroons. Okay. Has there
Yes.
ever been a Maroon president?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No,
Well,
not yet. But
would you vote for a Maroon president?
it depends on who that is, because if I look at the vice president we have now,
Hmm.
the vice president is from the Maroon descent.
Hmm.
The thing is, um, uh, he has a bad history, so I would not be happy if he would be the president. He has a bad history. I do have to say he has changed certain things he has been doing. Um, it is difficult.
Hmm.
I think people of Suriname actually see that
Hmm.
um, he is doing his utmost to change his behavior.
Okay.
Because um, he was he means well. He
Hmm.
means well, but some people have a certain way of
Hmm.
uh, being a leader that
Hmm.
doesn't always is not always appreciative,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the way with him, because and he has a lot of money.
Okay.
let's leave the politics aside. He has a lot of money. He has a lot of uh, how do you call it? He's also into the gold industry. He's
Mhm.
name it, he has it. He
Okay.
has he has I don't know how many wives. He has I
Oh
don't know how
wow.
many kids. Yeah, I don't.
Is it legal to have multiple wives in Suriname?
Not really. But he let's not say wives because he's not married to all of them. He's married to one,
One.
but he
Okay.
has a lot
Okay.
on the side.
All right.
And the person he's married with has accepted it, so to speak, that he has
Oh,
a woman
admitted.
on the
Okay.
side,
What about
and he
intermarriage? Is there a lot of intermarriage between the races?
yes, yes,
Would you
yes,
marry a maroon guy?
no problem. If he's if it depends on a lot of things because cultures can clash.
Okay.
So it depends. Are not they don't actually live in the interior. I have a lot of great friends who are maroons. Really, and I would say like well a lot, maybe 10 great maroon friends. They are really my true friends from the heart. They would I told you I also have my own business. They will support it if someone is a could be one of my clients, they would just introduce me to that person or say like, "Hey, just give Nancy a call, check with her." But also if I would be down in some way, they would comfort me, be there for me. So um, being a maroon is for me not a problem. I was explaining to my friend 2 weeks ago. We were talking about religion. I'm Christian, and my friend also. And I don't know what the conversation was, how it started, what it was about. Um, but I was explaining to her that there is this pastor who I look up to, a woman, and I love the way she preaches. And some time ago, she and I were talking about the elections for the national board here for so you have the National Christian Organization,
Mhm.
and every 3 years a new board is chosen.
Mhm.
So the election were supposed to be last year, but due to COVID, the elections have been postponed to this year.
Mhm.
And so the elections will be virtual. Okay, but that's not a problem. She actually said she's also Creole, and she said, "Yeah, we have to look out because, um, so you also have Japanese Christians, right?"
Mhm.
And and she was like, "Yeah, but the Japanese, they want their pastor to become head of the board, and we have to stop that." And I was like, have to stop that because I don't look at someone as being, "Oh, you're Indonesian, so we can't have that. You cannot be at the head of the board of directors,"
Okay.
because that's not what Christianity is
Yeah,
about.
it's about. Yes, you're right. Let's
Yes,
talk
so
about the economy. How is the Surinamese economy?
it's bad. It's bad at the moment. Yes, it's bad. Like I said earlier in our conversation this morning, the exchange rate is terrible. If I would have to give you my salary at this moment, if I would my salary in US dollars now
Uh-huh.
is approximately 130 US dollars. That's my salary in US dollars now.
And it used to be what?
If I would have to say 1 year ago, it was, let's see, let's make a quick calculation. Uh, uh, 1 year ago, it was 450, 460, 450 or 460.
Wow.
And now it's 130.
450. Okay. Wow. So it's almost like a fourth. What happened?
Um, the COVID pandemic happened. That's one.
Okay.
And um, the former government has put Suriname in a lot of debt,
Okay.
and they for somehow they made it seem as if Suriname wasn't in that much debt. I do not know how they managed to do that. There are so many. Suriname is way over their head in debts. So the new government is trying to get Suriname out of debts, but
Okay.
out of debts means that a lot of things, um, um, a lot of things that were paid with government money
Uh-huh.
will not be paid. Like things like electrical bills. So what the case was with paying electricity is that the government would subside part of the amount you
Mm-hmm.
have to pay, and part you pay yourself.
Okay.
Now this now that's taken away.
Okay.
With oil, for example, there was a government take
Mm-hmm.
paid to the um, paid to the owners of gas stations, but
Mm-hmm.
now the government take is taken away. So for 1 liter gasoline, which we were paying like 5 SRD or something last year, we now pay almost 15 SRD
Wow.
for 1 liter of
And
gasoline.
the SRD, that's the SRD is the Surinamese dollar, right?
Yes,
And it
yes.
used to be how many per US dollar before the pandemic?
Um, so before the pandemic and the change of government,
Mm-hmm.
let's see. Last year it was 5 SRD, and exchange rate was uh 7, I think. So that would
Seven.
be so that would be 0.7 US dollars for 1 liter, and now it's I don't even
How many SRDs do you need for $1, $1 US now?
now almost 30.
And before then it was how many?
7.
Seven. So it went
Yeah.
from 7 SRDs, Surinamese dollar to $1 US to
Yes.
now 30. But
Yeah. Within a year.
strangely enough, in Ghana, it has actually stayed the same even throughout the pandemic.
Oh no, for
Five,
us not.
5.7 to 1.
Okay.
5.7 Ghanaian cedi to $1 US.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So in the final analysis, if I come to Suriname, what are
Mm-hmm.
the main do's and don'ts? What can get me in trouble and what can get people to like me?
People will like you if you try to adjust, if you try to learn how to speak Dutch or the Maroon language.
Also, the Maroon language is the dominant one.
No, it's not a dominant one, not really. But if you would go to the interior, because going to the interior is one of the attractions of Suriname.
Okay.
So you can either learn Dutch. People like it when you want to learn Dutch, and if you go to the interior, they would like it if you want to learn their language.
Okay. So how do you say how are you in Maroon?
Um, Friday,
Friday. And
yeah.
how do you say it in Creole?
Hoe gaat het?
Oh wow. And you speak
Yeah.
both.
So the Creole is actually Dutch.
Okay, okay.
So Dutch is our language.
Okay, so the Creoles don't have their own local language. It's just Dutch.
Yeah, you could say it's called Sranantongo, and
Hmm.
Sranantongo is a mixture of the Maroon language, Dutch, and Spanish.
Okay.
So if you would hear a few of the words, um, especially from the Maroon group Saramacaners,
Hmm.
some of the words, if you have got Spanish at school, you would be like, huh, this sounds Spanish. So there are a lot of influences and mixtures in our language. But if you would have to look at the Creole, you would have to look at Stranantongo, and Stranantongo is actually a mix of the Maroon dialects,
Hmm.
and Dutch and Spanish.
So in the exterior, do the Maroons speak very good Dutch?
Not all of them. No,
Okay.
the ones who have been to school, well, let's say the ones who have been to past primary school,
Mhm.
they if they have been to as far as high school,
Mhm.
they can speak Dutch
Speak Dutch.
fluently. Yes,
But how did you get to speak English so well then? Where did you
at
learn it?
school.
School?
Well, at school, and I do like English.
Okay. All right. Very good. So, okay. Now that, what do I do for Surinamese to like me? Or actually, what should I not do to get myself in trouble?
Disrespect the culture. I think
Okay.
it's if you don't know the cultures by heart, um, people won't get mad if you don't know the culture, but you should ask. If you go somewhere, what am I allowed to do? What am I not allowed to do? You should always respect their culture. You don't always have to ask why or why not. Why shouldn't
Okay.
I do that? It's important to respect the culture, especially for the Maroons, the Amerindians, the Indians, the Indonesians. So they keep their culture very high,
Okay.
and it's important to respect that.
What about crime? Do visitors have to worry about crime?
Um, yes, now more than ever. Now more than ever. And that's is for 50% due to the pandemic and the slash the economic situation Suriname is in now.
Okay.
So, because people don't have money, because if you like, we've talked about the exchange rate just now, and our salary has not increased. So, with the same amount of money I had last year, the same time, I can buy less. And if you have like five mouths to feed, and you only earn $100 or less a month, then you know that you will never be able to go through a month with less
Yeah.
than $100 a month. So it's very high. Um, Now there are a lot of robberies and robberies with how do you call it, with guns, with knives. So it's not just our
Is
just
it
not
easy to buy a gun in Suriname?
no, it's not easy to get a registered gun. So mostly they're illegal.
They're illegal. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We have 1 minute left.
Mhm.
Tell me if I'm in Ghana right now and I'm trying to have a vacation in South America. I've written
Mhm.
down Brazil, Colombia, Argentina,
Mhm.
Guyana, Suriname. Why should
Mhm.
I choose Suriname over the rest of them?
Well, because of our beautiful interior, first of all. If you go to in the interior, we have waterfalls. We have what they call in Maroon sulas. So you can just sit in the water. There are stones in the water. I don't know if you have any idea what that looks like. And you can just have the water come all over you, and it's peaceful. And yeah, it's the
I
interior,
heard it.
so
It's
there.
like a
So
natural massage, right?
yes,
It's a
yes.
natural massage.
So there is wildlife, yes,
No,
but
wildlife, are there dangerous wildlife in the exterior?
yeah, we have tigers, snakes, panthers, name it, we have it. And I
Whoa.
think we have Suriname has the biggest. I don't know if you follow the wildlife documentaries,
Mhm.
but internationally, Suriname is known for their. I don't know if you know the boa constrictors. The
Boa constrictor?
yeah, that's the one of the biggest snakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there could be like 7 meters, 8 meters.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have
Have you
that.
seen some before?
No, and I don't want to.
But so
I've,
those
I've
the
I've
maroons.
only seen them. I've only seen them in the zoo. Yes,
Okay. But
but I have seen other snakes. Yes, in Suriname.
in the so the maroons, how do they protect themselves against the wildlife, the dangerous wildlife?
Well, where there are villages, I think the wildlife goes less because they don't actually visit where people are living. It doesn't happen that often. What I do have to say is like now we're in the rainy season in Paramaribo and Suriname. We're in our biggest rainy season. And I don't think we have had so many rain in after years. After years, Suriname has been blank late flooded these few weeks, and a lot of places people have seen snakes. The snakes I have seen on Facebook, on YouTube, of even alligators, just because
Whoa.
how Suriname is flooded now. Yeah, during to the rain, so it doesn't help our economy. It doesn't help with COVID. It's just now it's a
Wow.
disaster.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, Nancy Boldewijn,
Oh, and also for the cuisine. Yeah, you asked also why you should visit Suriname, our interior and the cuisine. There's
the
a lot of
cuisine.
great food in Suriname.
Is it mostly vegetarian or is it a lot of meat?
No, a lot of meat. There are
Like-
vegetarians and vegans. We do have them, but most people here love meat.
Wow.
Yes,
All right, Nancy, thank you so much for your time. This has been
it was
great.
my
I've
pleasure.
learned about Suriname more than I knew before I spoke to you, and I know that I'm going to continue to learn more about Suriname from you.
Yes.
And I thank you for being on Diaspora Weekly.
My
My name is
pleasure.
Jermaine Nkrumah, and my guest was the beautiful Nancy Boldewijn from Paramaribo, right?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, and have a great evening. All right?
Yes.
Take
Bye
care.
bye. Thank you for
Bye-bye.
having me.
Me man penya wodi kano your friend no Dr. Nkrumah. Yeah, me sign up when my dear number your mama. I send back ku baby na me tia eya me nwanwa. Yeah, ono na je fa hu die. Ya nara ya sasini eya body de ma ye. Moja na no bi egunya de to ha ma ye. Edru me ne wo tu say ye be ye.